All right, let's dive into the Combat System Operational Sequencing System, or CSOSS for short. This is the U.S. Navy's master plan for keeping all the high-tech gear on its warships running smoothly, especially when things get intense. So the big question is, how do you keep a billion-dollar warship from falling into chaos during combat? Well, let's find out.
I want you to imagine you're on one of these incredible warships. You are surrounded by literally hundreds of different systems, radars, missile launchers, computers, and they're all talking to each other. Now picture one of those systems failing, right in the middle of a critical mission. How do you fix it, like right now, without starting a domino effect of other failures? Well, that is the exact problem CSOSS was built to solve.
So what you're looking at here is a real-deal organizational chart for a warship's combat system. Every single one of those little circles is a piece of gear or a person on watch. It's this massive interconnected web. CSOSS is what gives the people, the procedures, and the communication lines to make this whole web work as one unit, especially under pressure. It's the playbook, the standard operating procedure that brings order to all this complexity.
Okay, to get you ready for any exam on this stuff, here's our game plan. First, we'll cover what CSOSS actually is. Then we'll meet the key players, the watch team. After that, we'll dig into their playbook, see how they keep their skills sharp, and then we'll wrap it all up with a rapid recap and some practice questions to test your knowledge. Let's do it.
So let's kick things off with the big picture. At its very core, CSOSS is built on a really simple but powerful idea. It's all about the relationship between the people running the equipment, the physical places where they work, and the step-by-step procedures they follow.
Here it is, the official, by-the-book definition. The key here is to think of CSOSS as a complete readiness management tool. It's not just some manual sitting on a shelf, it's an entire system designed to make sure that every single sailor on every single ship knows exactly what to do to operate, maintain, and most importantly, repair the ship's combat systems when things go wrong.
So why is this such a big deal? Honestly, standardization saves lives. When everybody uses the same proven procedures for both normal stuff and for casualty control, which is just a fancy term for fixing broken equipment, it brings predictability to what could be an incredibly chaotic situation. Everyone knows their job and everyone knows what comes next. No guesswork. Okay, so now that we've got the what, let's talk about the who. We're going to dive into the key people who make up the CSOSS watch team. First up, we've got the Combat Systems Officer of the Watch, or as everyone calls them, the CSOW. Think of this person as the absolute nerve center of the whole operation. They work out of a space called Combat System Maintenance Central, or CSMC, and they are the single point of contact for anything and everything related to the technical health of the combat system. So what does the CSOW actually do? Well, they're the manager, the boss. If a radar goes down, the CSOW is the one who tells the technicians exactly which pre-approved procedure to use to fix it. They're also coordinating with other parts of the ship, like damage control if there's a fire, or supply if they need a spare part. The bottom line is, they maintain positive control over the entire system. Next, let's talk about the Combat Systems Readiness Officer, the CSRO. Now, if the CSOO is the technical hub, the CSRO is the all-important bridge. This person's entire job is to connect the tactical operators, the folks in the Combat Information Center who are actually fighting the ship, with the technical team that's run by the CSOO.
And here's how that plays out in the real world. Let's say the ship's main tactical decision maker, the Tactical Action Officer, or TAO, is getting really worried about a potential air threat. But oh no, the primary air search radar just died. The TAO turns to the CSRO and says, I need that radar back like yesterday. The CSRO's job is to take that urgent tactical need and translate it into a technical priority for the CSOW. It's a brilliant way to make sure the tech team is fixing what the warfighters need most.
So, who's actually reporting to the CSOO? Well, that brings us to the Action Area Supervisors, or AAS. These folks are the technical experts and team leaders for a specific group of systems. You might have one for radars, one for sonars, one for weapons. You'll get the idea. The ABS is really the hands-on boss on the deck plates. They're the ones telling their technicians exactly which buttons to push and in what order. For example, if a missile launcher needs a reset, the weapons ABS will grab the correct procedure, walk their team through it step by step, and keep reporting their progress right back up the chain to the CSOW. So, we've met the whole team, the CSO, the CSRO, and the AAS. Now let's take a look at the playbook they're all reading from. This is the heart of CSOSS, the actual books and manuals that guide every single thing they do. The playbook is basically split right down the middle. On one side, you've got CSOP,
which stands for Combat System Operational Preparation. These are your everyday, run-of-the-mill checklists for starting up gear or changing a setting. Then on the other side, you have CSOSS, Combat System Operational Casualty Control. These are the supercritical, step-by-step emergency procedures for when something breaks. A simple way to remember it. CSOP is for peace, CSOC is for problems.
You know, a system this important can't just be a dusty set of books on a shelf. It has to be a living, breathing thing that gets better over time. So how does CSOS stay sharp and up to date? Through tons of training and, just as important, a formal feedback system. And that feedback system is called the Technical Feedback Report, or TFBR loop. Here's how it works. If a sailor out on a ship finds a mistake in a procedure or even just thinks of a better way to do something, they don't just shrug and move on. They submit a TFBR. That report goes straight to the engineers who write these procedures, and they can then update the official manuals for the entire fleet. It's a direct line from the user on the deck plates to the developer in the lab.
And trust me, the Navy takes this feedback really seriously. Just look at these response times. If a sailor finds an error that could potentially cause an injury or damage equipment, they submit an urgent TFBR. The response authority has to get back to them with a preliminary answer within one single working day. For more routine stuff, it's still just 21 working days. This makes sure the system is always responsive and always getting better.
All right, we have covered a ton of ground. The what, the who, and the how of CSOs. Now to really lock all this information in for your exam, let's burn through a rapid recap of the key terms we learned, and then I'm going to hit you with some practice questions.
Here we go. CSOS, that's the whole system. CSOW, the technical hub. CSOR, the tactical to technical bridge. AHAS, the hands-on supervisor. CSOP, for normal operations. CSOC, for casualty control, when things break. And TFBR, the feedback report. Got it? Good.
Okay, first question for you. Think back to that org chart. Who is that one person in the middle, the hub that coordinates all the technical efforts?
Question number 2. You're just doing a totally routine startup of a radar system. Nothing's broken, no emergency. Are you reaching for a CSOP or a CSOCC procedure?
Okay, next question. We talked about that person who acts as a link between two different worlds on the ship. What is the specific role of the CSRO in the organization?
And for our last question, let's use a real-world scenario. You've just found a serious error in one of the manuals, something that could actually cause equipment damage. What's the name of the report you file, and what level of urgency does it get? If you can answer that, you've really got a handle on how this whole system works.